Chapter 2, aka Rule 2. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I feel like that right there is already a whammy.
I was gonna say, I fully recognize that this is probably just an IQ situation where his is just higher than mine, and I just wasn't tracking as well.
I just really liked this chapter. I think I just really resonate with the chaos and order thing because you and I have talked about this. This is the perfect example of him articulating something that I felt. I don't understand this whole do what you love or do what feels right, because if I just listen to my body all the time, I'll be a giant piece of shit. Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you? Happy Tuesday, turkey tats. And happy November. I was gonna say happy book club.
Yeah, happy book club, man. Happy almost Thanksgiving. I will read the rule and I will give us a quick summary. And everybody who says it looks like I'm reading on the screen, it's because I am reading on the screen for this part. Chapter 2, aka Rule 2. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I feel like that right there is already a whammy. Okay, summary. I had a really hard time. I am having a hard time summarizing these because they're so potent.
We'll get into, I have a slight qualm about this one, but summarize away and then we'll get into it.
Okay, well, summary, here we go. We are introduced to the common issue of medication noncompliance and the baffling scenario where a patient will fail to take their own life-saving medications but will ensure their pet never misses a dose. We are also told about the concept of chaos versus order and the constant tangle that exists between these two, as well as our own call to find the way between these two seemingly opposing forces. We are called to balance chaos and order to find the right. Oops, I keep saying the word balance, but whatever. So we're called to figure out how to balance chaos and order in our own lives. He notes that too much chaos isn't healthy and too much order is tyrannical. Dr. Peterson then goes on to relay other examples in history and throughout the world of, too much chaos, too much order, the balance in between. And he also kind of talks about some older concepts or, I guess, ancient traditions where you see this idea mirrored in masculine versus feminine energy, explored versus unexplored territory. And then, using analogies from biblical text as well as other ideologies like Taoism, Dr. Peterson explains it's our responsibility as each individual person to find the way and to balance these forces in our own lives, which he then ties together to treating ourselves like someone we are responsible for helping, because we have to understand that what is best for us might be uncomfortable at times. It might not be fun, and it is definitely not always going to make us happy in the immediate moment.
Dude, first of all, great summary. Can I just say, can you imagine if we had the brain cells that we do now to go back to like English class and when we had like reading assignments and we had to do these things? I feel like you were good at that, but I feel as though it would be so much easier now.
I know.
My brain.
I think I'm also so much less self-conscious.
Yeah, so and we're reading things that we're interested in reading, whether we agree with them or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get into my qualm now, because maybe you can help piece things together for me. Because I loved the concept of chaos versus order. I also understand the concept of tying that into feminine and masculine energy and what that brings and the differences there, like yin and yang. I had to look, because I'm listening to it on Audible, not a sponsor, shout out. I had to look about 5 times to make sure I was listening to the right chapter.
Yeah.
Because in the middle of all this, I'm like, what does this have to do with treating myself better? And once you step out and take a look at it, I can see now it's like there is chaos and there's order. And sometimes in life you'll be going through chaos and sometimes you'll be in order, and you have to straddle these two things because life is hard and you're going to be presented with both. And in turn, then you have to take care of yourself to get through these things. I don't know. And then he threw in Adam and Eve. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little lost throughout. I loved the bigger picture of all of this, but I was a little lost in the middle. of like,
Yeah.
where are we going?
It felt big. I don't know. He had touched on some of these concepts in the interview that I listened to him do a while back. That was my initial
Mm-hmm.
obsession with wanting to read more of his information. And it was because of my roots growing up in the evangelical world and Bible reading in Christian school. And it was really exciting to me to have this different, broader perspective of the biblical text and some of the principles in there.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And I like how he described the way as the capital W way. But I sort of think he started off with this idea of you need to take care of yourself the way that you would take care of somebody you actually loved
Mm-hmm.
or cared about. And I think he had to go down, I think he sort of had to paint the broader picture of what does being healthy look like. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where he tied it in. But there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot in the middle before we circled back around to it.
He could have done a whole chapter on chaos versus order. And I love that concept. And I like how he describes it. And to jump into the first quote if you'd like me to. It's funny because I did realize that the last quote from last week, you did jump ahead a little bit because I realized my quote that I pulled is right before the one you shared. But I liked how he said to straddle the fundamental duality of chaos and order is to be balanced, to have one foot firmly planted in order and security and the other in chaos, possibility, growth, and adventure. So it was nice. It's like chaos doesn't always mean something bad. It means just maybe uncomfortableness with
Mm-hmm.
growth or trying something new. I thought that was a good way to look at it and having one foot in each spot to feel a little bit more grounded, not like you're flying by the
Mm-hmm.
seat of your pants and always in chaos.
Yes. Let me see my pro takeaways. I don't really have qualms. I do 1000% hear you on it felt like we went around our ass to get to our elbow.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to, I don't know, I can't speak for him, but it sort of felt like he had to give this background of the concepts of how
Mm-hmm.
you have health and balance. And I think he's so smart.
I was gonna say, I fully recognize that this is probably just a IQ situation where his is just higher than mine, and I just wasn't tracking as well. So it's not like I had a problem with it. I was just like, what? Where are we going? I was just a
Yeah.
little confused. Yeah.
I really, I need to look at my notes of myself.
Hey, turkeys, real quick, we want to tell you about our fun new free craft corner. Every quarter, in line with the equinox or solstice, we are going to send out new farts and crafts projects. You can find the link in the show notes. Just drop us your email. We promise not to spam you, but we'd love for you to join us. Now back to the show.
I just really liked this chapter. I think I just really resonate with the chaos and order thing because you and I have talked about this this is the perfect example of him articulating something that I felt and didn't have the words for. Because I have said on a previous podcast episode that I don't understand this whole do what you love or do what feels right, because if I just listen to my body all the time, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
a giant piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me is if everything's chaos. And I also have figured out in my life for myself, I need order and I thrive in a routine. But I also know that if I get too routined, then I start doing stuff just for the sake of the routine that's really strict and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Like my blueberry example. Like, I love the routine of going to the grocery store on the same day and meal planning and having all of this stuff built out. But then it's too much order when I don't let myself just go to the
Like,
grocery store again.
yeah, yeah. There's too many
So,
rules then, and you feel like you're
yeah,
almost constrained a little bit.
yeah. And there's no room. You can't have something new. I guess I kind of enjoyed the way he explained that chaos and creativity, and it's kind of the mother of invention. And you can't have anything new or innovative if you don't step out into the unknown and do something you're unfamiliar with. Same with growing. This is a great great example for me of a reminder of if you only do things that you're good at, you're never going to try anything new. And I'm not great at not being good at something. So I understand all the principles of that. It did take me a minute when I read the chapter didn't go where I thought it was going.
Mm-mm. But that's okay. He brought it back. And to touch on, you mentioned, like, if you listen to your body, I'm just gonna lay on the couch then and eat potato chips all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't just fully give in to that. That's what I've always struggled with. We've talked about this on like our health podcast episodes. It's like, where's the line? How do I define intuitionally resting for the day?
Yeah.
Am I resting because my body needs it, or am I being lazy?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
Yeah.
trying to
We're
figure that out.
avoiding.
Yes. But
I know.
at the end, I liked how he said, basically, it wasn't a direct quote because, again, I'm listening to it, so I could not write it down fast enough. But he basically was saying happiness does not equal good. Like, you can't feed candy to children every day for a meal because it's fun and happy and that's what they want. Like, you're doing them a disservice. So sometimes choosing hard, it's like choose your hard. Do you want to be lazy and eat potato chips and then be overweight and have health issues and that's hard? Or do you want to work out, prioritize your health, and that's hard, but then you're getting the reward of being healthy? So that tied it back into me of this decision and this yin and yang of I have to choose the right path, and it's going to be probably hard either way. It's just how do you define and how do you prioritize your health?
I do know. I loved the example of the child. That was such a good example to me. You know, if you have a kid, you love your kid. You don't give them what they want all the time because what they want is not necessarily what's good for them. And the whole, like, you got to eat your peas. But the example and the statistics of people who will not take their rejection medication after an organ transplant, but will make sure that their dog gets their flea and tick medication every month, I think was also such a good example. I feel as though this specific chapter just needs to be blasted for every helping professional because there are so many of us, and I'm guilty of it too, that tell the clients that you work with to do X, Y, and Z, and you have implemented none such of those healthy habits into your life, which I think happens with empaths all the time. I am certain it happens with moms, which you can speak to. But that concept of, I think we know what's best in general, typically, maybe not always. And there are some weird mixed messages. I feel like society has moved in kind of a weird self-indulgent path recently with, if it feels, do more of what feels good and all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, but
you also have to work hard, and
yeah,
you can't just, I think it's, how do I say this in a way? Because I said this last week, because our world is relatively safe right now, I feel like there's a sense of shit, I just lost the word.
Complacency?
No, when you think entitlement.
Oh.
And I think that makes it hard for, I don't know, sometimes things go over people's head because they just feel entitled to, like, be happy and be good, and I don't want to work and blah blah blah.
Yeah, or to me it feels like a false message of you deserve to be happy and have everything you want.
It's just unrealistic.
Yeah, I don't know if you just pop out and into the world and then you get that. I guess you deserve it in the sense that everybody has value and worth and you hope everybody lives a fulfilling life. But the way that you get there is to work towards something and to better yourself. And then I think that gets into why he laid out what path do we follow and how do we know, and trying to kind of show. I just love how he uses examples across history and time and culture and the animal kingdom and biblical texts, just all of that, to kind of say these aren't new ideas. They're everywhere, kind of all the time. And it seems like it has to be true because we see it in society and religion and nature across a huge
all
span
different
of time.
cultures. Yes, I agree. And it's interesting though, because I do feel like there's a sense of entitlement, or maybe just life should be easy type of belief. But then at the same time, whether it's just people don't value themselves as much as they think they do, or internally they're not putting value in themselves because, sorry, I'm just spewing out my quotes because they're landing exactly how this conversation is going. But he said people often don't believe they deserve the best care. So, like, I believe my dog deserves the best care. I believe you deserve the best care. I believe my husband deserves the best care. But when it comes to me, like, yeah, like, is that a self-worth thing that people struggle with? Is that just like ego? It's just interesting why we would neglect ourselves, care, and health when we want it for everyone else. And we'll go out of our way to do it for somebody else.
Yeah, like the eternal self-sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't know if that's women. I think men do it too. Maybe it just looks different. They'll work too much or not take up emotional space or keep a brave face when they're constantly trying to be the supporter instead of allowing themselves to be supported.
Yeah.
I'm not a man, so I don't know what it's like. But I kind of also relate it back to like the whole concept of your inner child too. With his example of if you had a kid, you would want them to be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
If your kid was in a class and it was so easy for them and it was so boring and they weren't engaged and they weren't learning anything, you would want them to go into the next higher level class where it might be intimidating and it might be hard and they might be nervous, but you would want that for them because then they would grow.
Yep.
I don't know. It's like we lose that when we talk about ourselves, but I kind of brought it together to my brain of I'm reminded that I need to love myself the way I love other people and look out for myself the same way that I would look out for other people and treat myself like a child sometimes and say no.
Mm-hmm.
And set boundaries, but also make time for myself to do things that I find nourishing to my soul and to allow myself space for creativity and play. And I don't know why that's so hard for all of us. I think I'm getting better at it. But I also kind of liked how he said, to take care of yourself, one of the big questions of life is, well, what's the purpose of life and what's the meaning and how do I attain the best version of myself? So I like that he kind of laid out some parameters of what that can look like. And I love that he used the word the way, being that correct path between chaos and order, because obviously it sounds reminiscent of my childhood where you have I'm the way, the truth, and the life, that all of those quotes. So it was dinging all of my childhood biblical bells.
I think it's interesting because you just said something that sparked in my head. Like, as adults, it's hard. I feel as though you have to really be not over consuming, but just somewhat interested or putting in some effort into self-care or not, I don't like self-care, self-growth, self-exploration, life philosophy. Like, you just have to be kind of in it a little bit to even reflect, because I feel like as adults we just get thrown into life. You work all the time, you work for the weekends, you get in your routine, you have monotony. If you have kids, it's just a to-do list and you're not actually living. And if you're not living, you don't have time to reflect and think about things or think. It's just easier to make excuses, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, we've talked about this. Instead of working out on my day off, I'll do everything else because it seems more important. I got to do the laundry for the family. I got to make my son food. I have to be present with my son. And yes, all of those things are great and valid, but I'm putting myself at the total back end, and that's not good either.
Mm-hmm.
I just think adulting, you just have to prioritize it and like work for it.
Mm-hmm. I think what I also enjoyed is that knowing that an amount of order is also good for us can make you appreciate your routines and just sort of the nonchalance of day to day. And when things are, for me at least, and this could also be my personality, but for me, when things are too chaotic and I don't have a routine at all and there's no structure, I sort of don't feel in the moment or present or engaged with life because I'm flitting about from thing to thing. And then I am a whirlwind of chaos. So for me, I have found the balance for the most part that I need of a schedule and having some type of a routine, because then I am able to settle my nervous system enough to be where I am. And when I have that intrusive thought of, oh, I need to go get this done, or I need to do this thing, I can be like, no, right now we are walking the dogs, or right now it's the morning and we exercise in the morning. So whatever thing you're obsessing over, it has its place later in the day.
I love that. And I'm guilty of that. I need to work on that too, because I don't know if this is all women. I think it's all women, but especially moms. I will be like, okay, I'm going to take out the trash. Or no, I'm going to put the dishes in the dishwasher. Well, first I need to empty the dishwasher, and then I notice that the trash is full, so I take out the trash, and then I notice on my way to the trash that the laundry needs to be switched over, and then I grab the laundry and then I put it in his room, and then I go like 20 steps just to get back to the first thing. I gotta that's where I need a little more order in my life, because I do multitask and it doesn't work. It's not helpful.
I've even gotten to the point where on my days off, my Monday, because I work a 4 10-hour shift, so Monday is my productivity day typically, to tend to house things and try to schedule time for myself. But I make a to-do list of the stuff that I want to get done, and I will have that list running through the week.
Mhm.
Because otherwise I waste a lot of brain energy where something pops into my head. I think that I need to do it, and then I keep thinking about how I need to do that for the rest of the week. And if I don't write it down and say, okay, this is space allotted for that activity, then I feel the need to go side quest and do it immediately, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget. So that has also been helpful. And then the chaos piece has also been good, where if something else comes up within that day, it's okay for me to not get everything on the list done. If something does really present itself that needs to be attended to, or if the weather is sporadically extremely nice and I need to go spend an hour at the beach reading my book, or if I don't get something done, the world isn't going to end, and I don't need to act like a chaotic or a tyrannical fool about completing everything on my checklist. But it feels good to me to have this intention of what I'm going to get done, and maintaining blocks of space for certain activities, which again, for me, it's worked out to work out in the morning. And even if that just looks like 20 minutes of yoga, just keeping that there, because for me, once the momentum starts, it gets more easy to stay in that wave.
This is a little off topic. How do you do your to-do list? Like, is it on a piece of paper? Is it on your fridge? Is it on your phone? Like, how are you seeing it throughout the day or the week?
Yeah, I'm a dork and I have a paper list.
Where do you keep it though? Like in your pocket? Like, that's what I struggle with.
My mom, shout out to my mom, because she's the one I got this from. She always had those long, skinny lists with a magnet on the fridge.
Nice.
So she will buy those for me. She usually gets me a pack at Christmas of like 2, and that's what I use all week. So I have one that is my meals list that I have my Monday through Friday meals written out of, and then I have a different one that sits on the side of the fridge, where if I think of, we need to go to Sam's Club this week, then I'll just write Sam's Club on there and stick it, and it just stays on the fridge. And then usually Monday or Sunday night, I might write a couple other things down if I take some time to sit and think about it. And then Monday, I just pull it off and I have it on the table. And I love the satisfaction of crossing something out.
Me too. And then crinkling the paper away and throwing it away.
Yeah, it's so nice. And that's what's nice too. If I don't get everything done, I'll just kind of leave it there, and then it sort of nags me to finish things out. But otherwise, I don't remember to schedule the dentist or...
Yeah, same.
I think everybody's got a balance too, because I think I married a chaos. I think he likes to live in chaos land, and I think he's in order. And I think we do a good job of balancing each other out, because he also does well in a routine, and he knows that. He's just not always great at creating it. So he's really he's good. The unknown, the talk about ideas, the big picture brainstorms, he's really good at. And our house has been a great example of this, of wanting to do some repairs and change things, because, we've got the yard and then this room, and we could do that. And he'll get really excited about big ideas. And I've learned that's really great because that's how we come up with new things. But if I don't help him by saying, okay, but let's come down to what do we need to do now, I think that needs to be after this other thing and try to shore it up into more of an ordered system. And he knows because he'll say to me, he's like, I don't understand how you're so productive. And I just have to tell him I would be a swirling Tasmanian devil if I didn't make my list.
I know. I wonder where this is going way off topic. The productivity the need to be productive. I wonder where that comes from because we both have that very much so.
I don't know. Sometimes I blame being an oldest daughter and having siblings. I don't know. I could also blame some of my German heritage. I think culturally there's, from my mom's side, we are productive. We get things done. We have no emotions.
Okay, interesting.
We do.
I wonder if I need to ask her what her heritage is because it sounds similar.
All right, we soldier on. I don't know. The English people have their whole stiff upper lip. I don't know. There is definitely something. Sometimes I think it's women. I don't know. Maybe it's America. We're all obsessed with knowing what people do for a living so we can judge them. All right, well, let me buzz through some quotes and then we'll leave it till next week. Me and my book.
I love it.
I really love so much that you're doing the audio and I'm doing the visual. Feels like a good balance. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't want to read too much all at once because it's so annoying to be read to. Here we go. The way, the Taoist path of life, is represented by or exists on the border between the twin serpents. I have my snake earrings on again.
I noticed. I like it.
Different pair. It's the same way as that referred to by Christ in John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The same idea is expressed in Matthew 7:14, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. God, King James is rough for me. I think you may have read this one then. We eternally inhabit order surrounded by chaos. We eternally occupy known territory surrounded by the unknown. We experience meaningful engagement when we mediate appropriately between them. It's true. Where you are is what you know, and everything else outside of that is unknown. If you go completely out into the wild forever and you're untethered, that's horrifying. Maybe more distressing for some people than others. But if you just stay at home all the time and you're a little hermit boy, that's not good for you either. Okay. And then there's just so much that I loved in this chapter. Okay. This was also great. This was me. This is me to me reading this. Order is not enough. You can't just be stable and secure and unchanging because there are still vital and important new things to be learned. Nonetheless, chaos can be too much. You can't long tolerate being swamped and overwhelmed by your capacity to cope while you are learning what you still need to know. Thus, you need to place one foot in what you have mastered and understood and the other in what you are currently exploring and mastering. Then you have positioned yourself where the terror of existence is under control and you are secure, but where you are also alert and engaged. That is where there is something new to master in some way that you can be improved. That is where meaning is to be found.
Love that. I wanted to write that down, but that was too much. But I remember that quote. It's like being content where you are and happy with what you have, but also not being complacent and going for more and being uncomfortable. Now, I'm still going to say this. I'm still having a hard time piecing that into treat yourself how you should treat someone you love. I'm just like, I get it, but like, I feel like it's almost, I don't know. Again, me and my IQ.
It might be a stretch. I was thinking this really reminded me of parenting, because Jason and I don't have kids, obviously, and I don't know that we're really planning it, but we talk a lot about how do you raise kids with both? How do you not make them scared and timid and pushovers, but how do you still instill love in a foundation? Because how? Anyway, I think that kind of also gets to you love your kids, treat yourself like you would treat them, because you have to, if you have a safe home to come back to and they feel safe at home and safe with you and they feel secure in that relationship, that then allows them to go out into the world and explore and then come back. And you see that on nature shows where mama bear's there and the cubs will trickle off a little bit for, far, and then they come back and touch in, and they might go a little farther the next time, and then they come back. And just, I think we really get fucked up as humans when there's not that space to come back to that's safe.
Yeah. Or if you're so in there that you've never gone out. Dude, that's me. Kenny and I probably talk about that every other night. What the hell are we doing? I don't want him to be a spoiled brat, but I want to make sure he's loved. But I need him to push himself and have confidence to go out and be uncomfortable. It is the craziest thing. It's the hardest thing about parenting.
I don't know how you do it, but definitely, this just feels reminiscent of so many things. Okay. I dog-eared this page. That is how you know I parenthesis underlined and then folded a corner. Whoa. Let's see what it says, because I don't remember. Oh, maybe this will bring it together. To treat yourself as if you were someone you're responsible for helping is, instead, to consider what would be truly good for you. This is not, quote, what you want. It is also not, quote, what would make you happy. Every time you give a child something sweet, you make that child happy. That does not mean you should do nothing for children except feed them candy. Happy is by no means synonymous with good. You must get children to brush their teeth. They must put their snowsuits on when they go outside in the cold, even though they might object strenuously. You must help a child become virtuous, responsible, awake being, capable of full reciprocity, able to take care of himself and others, and to thrive while doing so. Why would you think it acceptable to do anything less for yourself?
That tracks. I love that. Love.
Yeah, he's coming back.
He's
to
bringing
the
it back
now.
in. It's like how Trump says, "I'm doing the weave." Sorry, it just popped into my head and I had to say it. You're getting wide. That's how it feels in this chapter.
We're doing a big old weave. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I love this. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Nietzsche. I think it's Nietzsche. I don't know. I've heard it so many different ways. Anyway, he quotes him in this book and says, "He whose life has a why can bear almost any how."
That's good. Everyone talks about the why and how you need a why. I like that.
And then very last, which I think you said, when all of this sort of seems overwhelming, I love this one sentence where he says, "You can begin by treating yourself as if you were someone you are responsible for helping." It just gets right back to the same thing. Talk about all of this, but maybe that's just it. That's the starting point, is how would you treat your kid that you love so much? We should then, how can you apply that to yourself?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I'm just thinking, I don't know, we're already at our time, but I was just thinking about Adam and Eve and that whole segment, and how he was talking how Eve at least was deceived by the devil himself, like Satan the snake. Adam was just like, this bitch gave me the apple, and like totally threw her under the bus. I was like, damn. But again, where does that come into all this? I don't know, but it stood out to me, so I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, I do sort of recall there being some settings where we went down a biblical hole. I think I was just so excited about those because I had never thought of it that way before, that I was not perturbed that we left the footpath, so to speak, and took a snake trail.
No, I love it. Super great. Well, I'm excited for chapter 3. Can you give us a preview?
Yes, let's get a preview. A preview of chapter 3, rule 3. Make friends with people who want the best for you.
Love. That's going to be fun.
They're also meaty. Weighty.
Way too. All right, love.
Okay, well.
Do we have a tip?
Well, I think
We're
we do.
awful at this. We keep forgetting.
I need a tip for myself, which is a tip.
Hey, how about this? Why don't you find some to-do list trackers, and we'll link them down below, and then I can buy some, and I'll stick them on my fridge. Just kidding.
Honestly, it is a good idea. I was going to say, find a way that you can create some order for yourself. I don't know. I guess my tip for the week is to go get a magnetic list. Yes. Because it's very nice. They can be fun. Mine are really cute. They have dogs on them. Aww. Sometimes I get ones that have snarky sayings. I have one that says, "I tried to be normal once. It was the worst 5 minutes of my life." Something that looks cute. Same with my calendar. When Jason and I map out our chores that we're doing or our house projects that we're working on, if it's on a cute calendar, man, I can really feel more motivated. So
Oh, yeah.
find something you can make your to-do list on, find a way to make yourself some structure, and in that, schedule an hour for yourself this week. That's the real juice of the tip.
I love it. It's perfect.
Just schedule some free play. And if you're a chaotic person, maybe you need to schedule some time to make a schedule. I don't know. Until next week, I love you. Bye.
Love you, bye.
I didn't drink any of my bubbly drink while we were talking because I was afraid it was just going to be me burping this whole time.
Looks like beer.